Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Glowhood podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Mahmoud. Today's episode will cover thinking about the past and focusing on your future. Stop thinking about your past and focus on your future. Now, I know that may be easier said than done, but it is something that we have to apply to our everyday lives. Do you want to know why? Well, first, your past, there's nothing you can do to change it. Literally nothing. It has already happened and it is in the past. That is why it's called the past. So looking at your past and having regrets is normal, but wishing you could go back in time to change things is not helpful because it's literally impossible, at least right now in 2020. I don't know about in the future, but at least for right now, we cannot go back in the past and change anything. So, to be frank, it's a waste of your time. Instead, what we should be doing is looking at how you could have changed the outcome in certain events and then applying them to any present or future events. So that means taking the lessons that you learned. If something happened before and you didn't really like the way it turned out and you're presented with a similar situation, now you already have that experience from your past and you can now apply it to your future, if that makes sense. As people say, hindsight is 2020, and in this year of 2020, I implore everyone to take the lessons learned from your past as stepping stones. So don't think of your past as being something that you should be ashamed of or something that you wish you could change or do whatever. It is your past. It is part of your story. What inside you makes you feel like you want to change your past or want to look back and, have regrets? We all make mistakes. We are human. That's something that we can't change. We're human. Instead of thinking of the negative things that happened in your past, look at everything as a positive, because if you are able to just take those lessons, no matter what happened, you'll be able to then have, a brighter future. What in your past has led you to be the person you are today? These are questions that we all ask ourselves. What in your past has formed you into the individual that you are? Was it something good that happened that made you into a good person? Was it something bad that happened that made you into a good person? If you think that your past is something that you should always shun, or your past was even so much more better than what your future is, don't have that mindset. It's not helpful. One thing that I want everyone to always remember is that being a person, so long as you are alive and breathing for another day, another hour, you have the power to change and make things better for yourself and even for those around you. You shouldn't be looking at your past and feeling so regretful about how you did certain things or things that happened to you. That doesn't help. Staying in a victim mentality, it doesn't help. It's always good to acknowledge your past, obviously, because without acknowledgement, if you have a wound and you don't treat it, it can just get worse. So obviously acknowledge the things that have happened and then try it again. Take those little things, take the lessons in there, in whatever happened in that situation, and then just be a wiser person, apply that to your future. Now I want to ask a couple of questions. So what in your past has led you to be the person that you are? Any positive events, any negative events or trauma? Has it opened your eyes to be wiser in your actions and your movements, or has it caused you to have a warped sense of the world? Think about that, answer those questions in your head, write them down, whatever you want to do. Just, meditate on that a little bit. Are there specific events in your life that have impacted you to this day? Does thinking about these events help you in your present? Does it help you in your future? If the answer is no, then it's probably time you should just do the work on clearing out all that mental clutter and give way for the clarity to think about your future. So again, like I said, your past can be a good stepping stone. It could be a good vantage point in order to make sure that you make different or better decisions in your future. So let me give you an example. In my past, there's a few traumatic things that have happened to me in my past. A lot of people don't know, but when I was a little bit younger, So in my teen years, like when I was about 18 or 19, I had a friend who we were childhood friends, and the individual had moved away and then came back. So basically we reconnected, and this individual essentially had ill intentions towards me, and I didn't know. So every time they said, let's go here and let's do that, let's hang out with these new people in like the rougher part of town, I was like, I didn't really realize that was what was happening. So, I got caught up in a few things. I got set up for a few things, and set up as in, set up to be either robbed or, something else, or sexually assaulted, things like on that level that I did not realize were all planned. I was just thinking like, whoa, all this craziness is just happening, and I don't know why. It was because, of this individual. And I basically left the country after the fact, and, I had to do some soul searching. I had to really think about like what happened, and I really did some introspection, and then, I kind of I thought about everything, and then I was like, you know what, it's in the past. We're just gonna have to deal with whatever happened, and let's hope for the best. And I know that in the future, I'm not gonna let anyone get as close to me to be able to do that to me again. And then basically after I did all the internal work, I realized that I felt a lot better despite all of the horrible things that happened. And I felt like a huge weight had been lifted off of my shoulders, and I was so grateful for that. And I was also grateful for doing that work, and also making the decision to remove myself from that situation, because it turns out that a few months down the road, that individual ended up passing away. And it was due to some of the moves that we were all making at the time. So if I were still to be, if I hadn't made the decision to leave, I probably would have been in the same place as that person when they passed away. And for that reason alone, I'm forever grateful for, thinking about things thoroughly. And again, I'm extremely grateful for my family, and especially my mom, who was, she didn't like what was going on, obviously. And she was like, this is not good. This is not what you were meant to do. This is not anything that was this is not in your story. This is not meant to happen in your life. So you need to remove yourself and do something better for yourself. And so I always took that as, being saved from the evils of the world, basically. So that whole situation, I even still think about it till this day. And even though I sometimes do feel sad about the way things happened, I am still grateful that I was able to experience a few things, so that way I can know better, not just for myself, but for people around me. So I can at least share my story, and other people can learn from that story and know that they deserve better, and know that they are not supposed to allow people to just take advantage of them in certain instances. Don't let anyone take your kindness for weakness. And that's something that I personally struggle with, again, on a daily basis, being too nice. But, I'm learning. Obviously, we're all learning. We're human. I just wanted to give you guys a brief example of how you can use your past as a stepping stone, because had those things not happened to me, how would I have turned out? I don't really know how I would have turned out to this day. Like, those things have shaped the kind of person that I am now. It's made me more wiser. It's made me less naive. And it's helped me when similar situations are trying to pop up, and I'm like, nope, I'm not going to let that happen. Nope, don't want it, So when you think about your future, do you feel happy? Do you feel hopeful? Do you feel depressed? Or do you honestly haven't thought about it? So let's see. When I think of my future, I do feel hopeful. I feel happy because I know that I have the power to make my future. The thing about your future is it hasn't happened yet. So you can literally go in and create the future and the life that you want. Your past is your past. You can't do anything about it. There's not much you can really say to make it different because it literally has already happened. But the good thing about your future is it has not happened. So let's say there's two paths that you can go to. You can go right or you can go left. Though that decision right there, either going right or left, literally shapes your future. So it depends on if there's something that is on the right. Let's say you have a decision to go to two different colleges. One college is a Ivy League school, super difficult to get into, is the best of the best. And one is going to a trade school where you know that after you're done with the trade school, you can immediately get a job. You can basically set your own schedule. You're essentially an entrepreneur. So you know that out of those two decisions, you can make a decision about where your future is, where your life will be. And it's up to you to decide what that is. If you want to go to the Ivy League school, do that. If you want to go to the trade school, do that. Do whatever you feel is best for you. Because at the end of the day, it's your life that you have to live. No one else can live your life for you. That's one thing that I always want to stress to all of my listeners. No one can live your life for you. If your parents are over here forcing you to do something that you don't feel comfortable with, you don't really feel a passion for, definitely discuss it with them. Don't just ignore whatever they're saying, because they do have your best interests at heart. But at the end of the day, it's your life to live. So make the decisions that are best for you. Take time to really think about it, to meditate on it, to, research the different opportunities and different pathways that you could go, and make a better decision for yourself, for your future, because your future is so bright. And the good thing about being young enough to be able to make those decisions, and being young is, for me, I consider anyone being young is anyone 40 and below. After you get to 40, that's pretty much when you've decided on like your career or your path, whatever you've decided. So at that point, you're kind of already in there, which is not to say that you can't change. I'm just saying, like, for the people who are a little bit younger, this is the perfect time to really think about what moves you want to make. It's the perfect time to think about, okay, what do I want my future to look like? What do I want to do in my future? What do I want to do in my life? I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a doctor. I want to be, what else? I want to be a media personality. Like, all these different things that you could do. It's up to you to decide that. So, again, think about your future always in a brighter sense. If you're older than 40, again, you can make any decision you want. You're at that age and you're at that stage where now you've had so much experience under your belt that now the decisions that you would be making is not necessarily the same decisions as someone who's 19 would be making. You have that experience to know, okay, if I do this, it's going to require this and this and this, and then I'll be able to get this result. And I actually feel like it might be a little bit easier. I don't know, because I'm not at that age yet, but I think it would be a little bit easier at that age to be able to make more concrete, wiser, smarter decisions for your future, because no one knows when they're going to move on to the next stage of this existence. No one knows when we're going to pass. So as long 40 is middle age, and it's called middle for a reason, because you're not at the end yet. Young is because you're just starting, and old is when you've already lived your life, and your life is pretty much now all you have to do is reflect on all the decisions that you've made before. And now you can either be happy or you could be regretful, but I implore you to not be regretful, because every decision has gotten you to where you are now. The last things that I'll go over before I end this episode is your past is more likely to have something to do with your outlook for your present and your future. So even if you feel like you've had negative experiences in your past, try to take those obstacles that are obscuring your view as stepping stones for how you will make different decisions later. You don't have to be perfect to think about your mistakes as failures. Just think about them as bumpers on a car that protect you and guide you for a better path. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. You can follow us on our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Glowhood Podcast. You can also listen to this podcast anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And also, for the next episode, I will actually be asking for any listener notes and feedback. So if you want to be a part of the next episode, let me know. The topic at hand will be when the wrong people leave your life, the right things start to happen. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast, and we'll catch you on the next episode.